The East India Company, a name that still echoes through the corridors of history. Founded in 1600, this formidable trading enterprise embarked on a journey that would reshape the destiny of nations. Driven by the insatiable appetite for spices, textiles, and riches of the East, the company's ambitions soon transcended mere commerce. What began as a quest for pepper and silk would culminate in the subjugation of a subcontinent. The East India Company, granted a royal charter by Queen Elizabeth I, was initially focused on securing trading privileges in the East Indies. Little did anyone foresee the profound and far-reaching consequences of this seemingly innocuous charter. The company's early voyages were fraught with peril, navigating treacherous seas and facing fierce competition from rival European powers. Yet the allure of immense profits proved too tempting to resist. With each successful voyage, the company's coffers swelled and its influence grew. From these humble beginnings, a commercial juggernaut was born, destined to leave an indelible mark on the world stage. The story of the East India Company is a tale of ambition, greed, and the relentless pursuit of power. It is a story that continues to resonate today, reminding us of the enduring legacy of colonialism and the importance of understanding the complexities of our shared past. The East India Company's early expeditions were ventures into the unknown. European maps of the time were riddled with inaccuracies, and the vastness of the Indian Ocean posed formidable challenges. Yet, driven by the promise of lucrative trade, the company's ships sailed forth. Their first encounters with the Mughal Empire, then at the zenith of its power, were marked by a mixture of awe and apprehension. The Mughal court, renowned for its opulence and grandeur, presented both opportunities and obstacles. Securing trading rights required skillful diplomacy and the exchange of lavish gifts. Gradually, the company established trading posts, known as factories, along the coastlines of India. These outposts served as vital links in a burgeoning trade network, connecting the markets of Europe to the exotic goods of the East. Spices, particularly pepper and cloves, were highly prized commodities, along with fine silks, cotton textiles, and indigo dye. As the company's presence grew, so too did its understanding of the intricate workings of Indian society. They learned to navigate the complexities of local customs, languages, and political structures. This period of early interaction, while seemingly innocuous, laid the groundwork for the company's eventual transformation from traders to rulers. The decline of Mughal power in the 18th century created a vacuum that the East India Company was quick to exploit. Initially, the company's involvement in Indian politics was limited to protecting its commercial interests. However, as the Mughal Empire crumbled, the company sensed an opportunity to expand its dominion. Through a combination of shrewd diplomacy, military might, and the exploitation of local rivalries, the company gradually asserted its control over vast swathes of territory. The Battle of Plassey in 1757, a decisive victory against the Nawab of Bengal, marked a turning point. It cemented the company's dominance in Bengal, a region renowned for its wealth and resources. The East India Company, once a humble trading enterprise, had become a formidable power in its own right. It raised armies, collected taxes, and dispensed justice, effectively functioning as a sovereign state. The company's rule, however, was far from benevolent. Driven by insatiable greed, the company's officials often resorted to extortion, bribery, and outright plunder. The pursuit of profit trumped all other considerations, leaving a trail of exploitation and misery in its wake. The company's transformation from merchants to rulers marked a dark chapter in Indian history, one that would have profound and lasting consequences. The East India Company often sought to justify its rule by claiming to bring progress and enlightenment to India. This narrative, however, was a carefully constructed facade designed to mask the brutal realities of colonial exploitation. The company's true intentions lay in maximizing profits regardless of the human cost. One of the most enduring myths is that the company brought order and stability to a chaotic land. In reality, the company's relentless pursuit of wealth fueled instability and conflict. They played rival Indian rulers against each other, exacerbating existing tensions and creating divisions that they could then exploit. Another myth is that the company's rule led to the modernization of India. While it is true that the company introduced some technological advancements, such as railways and the telegraph, these primarily served their own economic interests. The development of Indian infrastructure was geared towards facilitating the extraction of resources, not improving the lives of ordinary Indians. Section 5. The Price of Prosperity, Economic Exploitation and its Consequences. The East India Company's rule had a devastating impact on the Indian economy. The company's policies were designed to extract maximum wealth from India with little regard for the welfare of its inhabitants. Traditional industries were decimated, agriculture was disrupted, and India was transformed into a supplier of raw materials for British factories. One of the most egregious examples of the company's economic exploitation was the systematic dismantling of India's once thriving textile industry. Indian textiles, renowned for their quality and craftsmanship, were driven out of the market by British-made goods, produced in factories using Indian cotton. Millions of Indian weavers lost their livelihoods, plunging them into poverty. The company's insatiable demand for revenue led to the imposition of crushing taxes on the Indian farmers. Forced to grow cash crops like indigo and opium instead of food grains, farmers were left vulnerable to famine and indebtedness. The Bengal famine of 1770, which claimed the lives of millions, stands as a chilling testament to the human cost of the company's greed. Section 6. The crushing grip of monopoly, the opium trade and its devastating impact. The East India Company's monopoly over the opium trade is a particularly dark chapter in its history. Recognizing the immense profits to be made, the company actively cultivated and exported opium from India to China. This illicit trade had devastating consequences for Chinese society, leading to widespread addiction and social unrest. The Chinese government, alarmed by the growing opium crisis, attempted to restrict the trade. However, the company, backed by the might of the British Empire, responded with aggression, launching the infamous Opium Wars. These wars, fought purely to protect the company's profits, resulted in China's humiliation and the forced opening of its ports to British trade. Section 7. Seeds of Rebellion, the Uprising of 1857 and its Aftermath. The East India Company's rule was marked by frequent uprisings and rebellions as Indians resisted colonial oppression. However, the Uprising of 1857, often referred to as the Sepoy Mutiny, was different. It was a widespread rebellion that shook the foundations of company rule in India. The immediate trigger for the uprising was the introduction of new rifle cartridges that were rumored to be greased with animal fat, offensive to both Hindu and Muslim sepoys. However, the roots of the rebellion ran much deeper. Years of economic exploitation, political subjugation, and cultural insensitivity had created a deep well of resentment against the company. While the uprising was eventually suppressed with brutal force, it had profound consequences. It led to the dissolution of the East India Company in 1858 and the transfer of power directly to the British Crown. India became a formal colony of the British Empire, ushering in a new era of colonial rule. Section 8. The Legacy of Empire India in the Shadow of Colonial Rule. The legacy of the East India Company and British colonialism continues to shape India today. The economic, political and social structures of India were profoundly transformed by over 2 centuries of colonial rule. The economic exploitation of India during the colonial era left a lasting legacy of poverty and underdevelopment. The dismantling of traditional industries and the forced integration into the global capitalist system left India economically vulnerable even after independence. Politically, colonial rule created a system of governance that was deeply hierarchical and centralized. This legacy continues to influence Indian politics today, often hindering democratic participation and exacerbating social inequalities. Culturally, British colonialism left a complex and contested legacy. While some aspects of British culture, such as the English language and education system, have been integrated into Indian society, others remain points of contention. Section 9. Conclusion: A Reckoning with the Past, a Vision for the Future. The story of the East India Company is a cautionary tale about the dangers of unbridled greed and the human cost of colonialism. It's a story that demands a reckoning with the past, acknowledging the suffering inflicted on millions in the pursuit of profit and power. However, it is also a story of resilience and resistance. Throughout their long struggle against colonial rule, the Indian people demonstrated remarkable courage and determination. They fought for their rights, preserved their culture, and ultimately regained their independence. As we reflect on the legacy of the East India Company, we must learn from the mistakes of the past. We must strive to build a world where economic justice, political freedom, and cultural diversity are valued above all else. Only then can we truly honor the sacrifices of those who fought for a more just and equitable world.